and welcome to this edition of the 941 Sports Zone. I'm Ron Mussone, back from a long hiatus, almost 3 weeks of a little travel, a little golf, and things we'll talk about a little later on as far as where I ventured off to. We're back here at our home of the 941 Sports Zone, Douglas Jeep, in their brand new facility. Maybe you can see over the table over here, their new warehouse where they have a huge warehouse for used cars. Just now trying to get some stuff in here, and they're doing a real good job as far as getting everybody to know where they're at, and we're helping them do that as well. And we're very glad to be back here doing our show here at Douglas Jeep. With that, let's get back to business about sports. And I've got two guests tonight. The two guests I know very well, one even more so than others, is my brother Ron Mussone, who's going to be here to talk a little sports with us tonight, and Grayson Barton. Grayson is the JV volleyball coach at Venice High School, as well as a sports enthusiast. I think you're the kind of guy who's a detailed guy when it comes to watching sports, and not just a casual fan. I know that for sure. And a very happy guy lately because he is a Michigan Wolverine fan. So still basking in the glow of the national championship from Michigan's win. So
good year.
Yeah, and thank you guys for showing up tonight. Really do appreciate it. Recap a little bit. The last show we did a few weeks ago, we had one of our sponsors in, Truly Nolan, Chris Clemente, the general manager of the franchise here in Venice, and him and John Peacock were the guests, and we talked a little bit about the Super Bowl before it happened. It was a few weeks ago, and then Chris talked a little bit about soccer. Grayson, you'll appreciate this. He is a Premier League fan, Liverpool guy. So anyway, so him and I got in a conversation previous to the show and talked a lot about the Premier League, and you don't realize how big the reach is in the Premier League. It's something that's only really based in Great Britain. You know what I mean? Yeah. But they have a big reach in it, and the quality of the soccer there, I think that is pretty good.
Oh yeah. The skill level is so good that by the time the guys retire from the Premier League, they come over to the U.S., play MLS, and they're pretty much running the team, right? As you see with Messi in Miami.
Right. So that's exactly right. So these guys go over there. That's the top-notch players in the world that are playing there. The money. It's funny how you think about. You hear the salaries in professional football, professional basketball, even baseball now, and people are just, wow, how can they pay that much money? They've been doing that in the Premier League and other leagues for years over in Europe. They pay hundreds of millions of dollars just to get the chance to sign a guy for hundreds of millions of dollars. It's insane how they do it. But again, a global sport. It's something that catches the imagination of a lot of people around the world. We don't recognize it because we're not big into soccer, as we call it here. But nonetheless, it does have a reach here in the United States for sure. So thank you to, of course, John Peacock and, of course, to Chris for being here last show, I should say. With that, take a quick tack over to what we're going to talk about locally today. And we were talking a little bit before the show started, and we talked about spring training baseball is here. It started. We've got the Rays down in Charlotte County. We've got the Braves in Welland Park / Northport, Venice area. And they've started, and they're actually have their first game here in a few days. And what I wanted to ask you guys is not so much the ins and outs of the two teams or whatever it may be, but the economic side of it. For years, Grapefruit League baseball meant a lot to the communities around Florida. The Dodgers were in Vero Beach, and the Mets were in Port St. Lucie, and on and on and on. And it meant a lot to some of those smaller communities because people would come in. Here we are in our small community with two baseball teams pretty close, both good baseball teams. How much interest do you have in it? And how much do you think the effect on the economy is for here locally? And does it outweigh all the traffic jams that it causes?
I will tell you that if we're locals, we grew up here. Yeah. So I think our frustration, especially during snowbird season, is sort of the traffic impacts and sort of the double of the population for that 6-month period. So I prefer to kind of stay at home and not deal with the traffic. But economically, I can understand it's a big boom for the economy. So I think it's good. I think people enjoy sort of being able to sit in February, March, sit and watch a baseball game in 70-degree weather. So I think it does have a positive impact. But again, if you've been here as long as we have, it's sort of a strain on kind of getting places. And really the effort of getting there and getting back is really sort of outweighs the enjoyment of the game.
No doubt. Grayson?
Well, I'm the new kid in town.
Yeah.
So we just moved here 2 years ago. So we're just now getting into being able to, because I have 3 kids, and we're just now being able to get out to those games. So
right.
we plan on going to a couple spring training games just because my son has a big interest in anything sports. But I mean, you can already see the economic impact over in Welland Park.
Yeah.
I mean, all the new restaurants going in. They had that really nice outdoor area, a playground. They had some food trucks, and most importantly, they have a big lawn area that they wind up hosting a lot of live events, bands and stuff. So you could see everybody kind of gravitating toward that area just to have a fun Friday night, Saturday.
And what it's done is really created a whole new community.
Yep.
Because for years in Venice, you're like, well, how far are you going to go? Because the attraction is the water, and it still is. Don't get me wrong. You know, it's we can hear the beach, no matter where you're at or whatever it may be. But we know that's what most people are here for. However, we always know that there was always lots of land. Just keep going east, and you can get there. And in this case, it wasn't very far east. You know, you're not very far away. And to build the stadium, actually before they really got the development started around the rest of the area. We talked about the restaurants, the parks, the golf course now that's out there, multiple communities with all different levels of price ranges for homes and whatnot out there, and accessibility now with River Road being going to be expanded and whatnot. The baseball park might have been the linchpin to sort of to see that and get to see the foresight of that. That was pretty smart on some of the leaders.
So I will tell you, the first time I've ever been down that in Welland Park was 2 weekends ago, and they did a good job. It's beautiful down there, and I could see based on sort of your comments, and I went down. There was a flea market or something going on. I'm like, this is pretty neat. So again, sort of the weighing, sort of like getting out of the house and doing other things. I think it's good. But then again, you know, if you've been here as long as we have, it's sort of it's not so fun to be.
I will say one thing though. Over the years, there was maybe one artery, which was US 41. Now, if you wanted to scoot around some of 41, you can kind of take some of the roads in the back country, I guess you would call it. And but it does help a little bit. But no, it can be. I mean, I know we're in February right now, but come end of March, beginning of April, you're going to be like, okay, I've had enough, because spring training is really built into April 1st, so it's not like it's the entirety of the springtime, but it is a lot. Oh, yeah. It'll be a lot, so we'll see how that works. I have noticed a little bit of stuff, but I'm waiting to see when Friday comes and all the other days come when there's a home game for the Braves. We're talking about the Braves in this case.
And I'll tell you, it's very family oriented. I think it's good, you know, with young children and whatnot. So I think it is a good positive thing.
And everything I've heard and everything I've seen seems to be done from a quality perspective properly. They've planned it out pretty well. So I think that, and you know, I get, you know, people that, you know, this has been going on for a few years now, but I got some people saying to me, he goes, have you been down there yet, or have you seen them? And I actually had early on in the process. I haven't been down there to go out to dinner in a little while, but nonetheless, there's a lot of things that now there's a draw, not just to Sarasota or to the down to the island of Venice kind of thing. Right. You got a Welland Park draw now that's going to be that's going to have a big footprint for sure.
They took the Field of Dreams approach.
Yeah,
they'll come.
They build it and they will come, 100%.
Right.
All right. So anyway, before we go to a break, we'll take one more quick leap to the state side of things. I mentioned this in the last show. Talked about how the college basketball scene for the big universities in our state had taken a kind of a jump up a little bit, and we mentioned the USF Bulls at the time, maybe later in the conversation, but they're going to lead the conversation right now. USF Bulls currently, as we film, are an 11-game winning streak. They're in first place in the AAC conference from a team that was, I mean, single-digit wins was being nice. You know, they were struggling to win basketball games, and watching them play, they beat Houston, they beat FAU, which was a Final Four team the other night. They're really doing some pretty things with some, you know, with a coach who seems to have the right perspective. I'll ask you first, Grayson, this time. Are the Bulls destined for the big dance?
Well, we kind of kind of talked about it earlier. Unfortunately, right now, the way it stands, they're still ranked at least I want to say 90 or 92nd.
Yeah, they're just not getting the proper perspective.
Those earlier losses. They basically base it off of that strength of schedule. They have their index, but I just would hate to see them miss out. Say they bowed out early during their conference championship. I'd hate to see that a good team like them not make it in.
Right.
Just because you want to go blue bloods, your typical powerhouses.
Listen, there's some teams out there. Obviously, if you look at it on paper, a team like Kentucky, who how do you discount Kentucky because they bring a whole team full of All-Americans in every year, but yet they're on a losing streak. They've lost 3 in a row at home, which hasn't happened, I don't know, 30 years or something like that. And so you look at that, and not to say that they don't deserve to be there, but you've got to give some merit to what USF has been doing in regards to being able to maintain a certain level of consistency, which is really a big deal. So I think that's a big thing. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they finish the year out. I think UCF's had a pretty good year so far in the Big 12. Florida State might be the one team that has been a little down this year. Mm-hmm. Miami, they have something going on very quietly down in Miami that they've sort of built a program with Jim Larinaga and those people down there. And then the other team, and I'll talk to you about this now, is the Florida Gators. Florida Gators broke into the top 25 this week. Being a Florida Gator fan, I know that you and I both Florida Gator fans. Football rules the roost, but do you remember how long ago was then when they won the national championship in basketball?
It wasn't that long ago.
Well, again, you think about it, it was actually in 06, 07.
I was about to say early 2000s.
Was it?
So, expectations, at that point were that Florida was going to be a perennial power. Mm. Now you're going to look at the basketball team and you say, like, they're in this sort of weird zone because basketball can kind of retool a little quicker than football can, maybe even quicker than baseball can as well. Because you get a couple studs and you're ready to go, right? And guys are younger and younger, that do perform. Freshmen are expected to win games in college basketball, but you go back now, you're talking almost 17 years since the championship, and back-to-back championships. And can you name the last team that won back-to-back championships?
No.
University of Florida. So the Florida Gators are the one team, and so the program now sort of seems to be kind of gaining momentum. They had a little momentum with Mike White, the coach before Golden was there, and but now they're sort of getting on the rise again. They seem to be getting some players who are significant, not just like good like lower level players, but guys that are like specimens. I mean, you got a couple 7-footers on the team. You got guys that they look like they're NBA players for sure. And so I think they're on a roll. I think the last few weeks the wins might have put them in that they're in a safe zone right now for the tournament play. Again, question for you guys: the tournaments. I wouldn't say it's lost a little luster, but the last few years that haven't been maybe as quite as hyped up as before. Ron, when the tournament starts, do you mark on Thursday and Friday to watch the games, or are you
I do not.
So, and Grayson?
I used to have my computer set up. Yeah. With a game going on, doing loans, taking phone calls, have my iPad, try to have multiple games going on at once. I still like it, but there's just, with so many different platforms now, I feel like the products can be spread thin across, the board. So, you're jumping around, and it is what it is, but you're going to go and find it. You're going to seek it out, just like football.
Because there was a point in time, obviously, I always, you referenced the point when ESPN kicked in with college basketball, and you had Dick Vitale, and they had the Big East games. Games were like, they were bloodbaths, so to speak. You know what I mean? You watch games and you watch teams that it was everything you wanted to do to win the game. There wasn't guys Cadillacing it. And the other thing was there was guys that played for teams for 4 years. Mm-hmm. So I'll ask another question to you guys. The one and done thing in basketball, do you lose the sort of the following. If you're a Gator fan, you're a Gator fan. If you're a Michigan fan, you're a Michigan fan, whatever that may be. But when you watch a basketball game and it's a team like Georgetown in the day, or now let's say it's like Gonzaga, if you don't know the guys, do you even have interest in watching it?
No.
Yeah, because like I said, that's the difference. You say all of a sudden, where did that go? And I think that one and done kind of thing. All of a sudden, the guy is the 8th guy on the bench for the Lakers, and he could have been a superstar and made a name for himself. I'll say one more thing to you as well. With the NIL money, we always talk about it with football, but this NIL is that's every athlete on campus has to dip into that well. If you're a better than average first year player in college, do you run to the NBA or do you stay for an NIL deal?
I'd say a lot of them will chase the money. They'll go to the NBA.
Well, I mean, honestly, with the way the NIL is right now, not to switch subject, but football, they said that football in the transfer portal is going for $5 million.
Yeah, that's good. They're making money anyway. Yeah.
That's crazy. So, I mean, you might be earning more through the NIL deal with the school than you are your rookie salary.
And are you really getting that much better sitting on the bench, or do you get better playing at a conference and honing your skills and branding yourself? I think the last guy who really branded himself was Zion Williamson. He goes to Duke, and he's like this specimen guy. He looks the part. He has a freak accident or incident where he tries to plant his foot and his shoe exploded. He's getting shoe deal. He's getting everything before he's even. But he could have stayed at Duke another year if there was money to be had, and been like, hey, I'll just stay here and make my brand even bigger, as opposed to jumping to the NBA. Now, he was a number 1 overall pick, so it's kind of hard. But there's going to be guys that can be like, hey, I'm a late first rounder, but I play for North Carolina, or I play for a big brand, and maybe we make a run and I make a name for myself, and I establish myself. Because one thing that people don't recognize a little bit is that when you're a big man on campus at a basketball school like North Carolina or a football school like Alabama or any of those places, you're the big man on campus forever. You get to go, you're there forever. You walk on campus, you need a job, I know a guy. You need this, I know a guy, I know a gal, or whatever it may be. And so you're always going to have that. The longer you're there, the more recognition that you put your name on the campus or on the university. You can parlay that into a lifelong career.
I will say this: some people choose to go the 4 years. Actually, the NCAA tournament is a great way to showcase.
Absolutely.
I believe Caleb Martin, who was on the Heat, he was like one of those Buffalo teams that was going through. He and his brother were out there, and I remember specifically because they had the different hairstyle. Right. But I mean, they made a name for themselves during that tournament and put their name up on the board. I mean, who else out of Buffalo? I mean, who's going to sit there and go, okay, let's recruit out of Buffalo for our team? Look at
Steph Curry, Davidson, small school in Davidson, and he puts 4 years in. He Elite Eight run with Davidson, shows off his things. I'm not saying he wouldn't have made it because he's an unbelievable talent, but his name was boom. He was out there right away, and now he's basically. I mean, no offense to LeBron, but I think Steph is the face of the NBA, and it makes a big deal.
And they were talking about who can carry on that torch, because right now we have a bunch of Eastern or European people. Yeah. Like the top 5, I think, in the NBA leading for the MVP race are all European. Yeah. And they're trying to figure out who's going to be that face of the NBA, because all those guys could care less about promoting the product, because once the season's over,
they're out.
They're hightailing it back.
Right. And if you're the Joker, you're going back to your farm because you don't want to be in the parade.
Races horses.
Yeah, no doubt.
What happened with that fight in Cornett and Texas A&M? Oh. Did they ever find out what was the...
No, I never heard why it started, how it started. Yeah. But the oddity of the whole thing is that they're the two worst teams in the conference, according to what I read. And they went to triple overtime. So there must have been... Somebody must have got their feelings hurt, and someone must have said, yeah, nice, whatever, and somebody went off. Yeah. But I watched the roll on it from the ESPN feed, and the announcer's like, there's a manager on the team was bloodied, and there was a girl got hit. So that's going to be, because that's going to run into legal stuff.
Yeah.
It's not going to be like, hey, we're sorry for the team. There's going to be some legal action if that is what somebody got. I don't care if it's a broken nose or a bloody lip. No. You're cashing in on that. The university will take care of that fast.
Well, that poses a question, right? So, say there was an incident with the NBA, right? I believe a Pistons guy punched another player in the tunnel, wound up getting arrested and charged with assault. Right. Some of that stuff that happens on the court.
That's always been
inside the lines, outside the lines.
And that's right because it was in the tunnel. It's that now the police were involved. Yeah. It was on the court. It's a referee and the NBA's problem. Listen,
when's the fine line? Is it just as soon as they get onto the court?
Probably the worst case scenario of what you're talking about was Rudy Tomjanovich. As a guy, he was a coach for the Houston Rockets, but he played for the Rockets in the 70s, and he got his face crushed. And my gosh, I'm trying to remember who did it. It was a big star who hit him, and it ruined both their playing careers. Basically, it was Kermit Washington. So Kermit Washington he plays the center, and neither recovered. Tomjanovich from the facial injuries and everything else, so never recovered. But yeah, you're right. Who knows where it falls into, and that's always something. Hockey's had issues with that too, using a stick. What's his name?
Chris Draper getting blindsided, and his face had a dent in it from the boards.
So then the police have arrested guys, from hockey.
Well, it'll be a storyline for at least the next week or so, and then
it's something that'll be a blurb, and they say the university made a nice payment to the little girl for $250,000 or something. With that, we'll take our first break of the night and come back here after that, and we'll talk about sort of a recap of some of the things we missed the last couple of weeks. Most importantly, the Super Bowl and what happened there. And then secondarily, and maybe as important, the Waste Management Phoenix Open, which is where I was. And they'll talk a little bit about what that was all about and some of the things that are going to happen from what happened this past tournament. With that, we'll take a break and get these words and messages from Julie Nolan and Douglas Jeep. Thank you very much. See you soon. Here with a 941 Sports Zone from Douglas Jeep. And guys, we left out before the break, and we were talking about what we missed the last couple of weeks with our podcast here. First and foremost, the Super Bowl. Okay, I think everybody can agree, and if I'm wrong, you can stop me, that it was a very exciting game. I wouldn't say it was the best game I've ever seen played, but the tension was there. What do you think?
I agree. I thought it was both teams played very, very, very well the whole game. Obviously went down to overtime, but somewhat boring the first, second quarter. But still kept your eyes on the TV. The Super Bowl, obviously, but I thought overall it ended up. As a matter of fact, I was texting some of my other buddies from work and tell them how boring the game was, just kidding around. But then it just picked up, and it ended up being really good. Yeah.
Grayson,
it was going to pick up eventually.
Yeah,
but I mean, you're right though. I thought it was very boring. Probably first, second, and part of the third until offenses started clicking and getting the door open. But you just knew Mahomes and Andy Reid were going to be able to scheme out of whatever San Fran was throwing at them defensively, because Chase Young was having a heck of a game in the first half, and then nothing second half.
Yeah, you're right. Ron, watching the game, anything you saw, any moment, any key to the game you saw where you thought, oh, this thing started to change? Was it the Kansas City offense, or what did you see?
Yeah, it was definitely once Mahomes kind of kicked in. I mean, even when San Francisco had scored 3 points in the first their overtime drive, I think everybody kind of knew once Mahomes had the ball in his hands, they were not going to stop him. Yeah. Not touchdown, not field goal.
Well, you could almost see how disappointed they were when they had to kick a field goal because they could not take. That would be just giving up almost, or if they didn't get in there. But kicking a field goal, they're like, oh, it didn't. I don't think it sat right with the whole 49er team.
You could almost kind of see the defense just going, oh God.
Yeah.
Now we got to defend Holmes, and that was one of the more questionable things. Kyle Shanahan choosing to receive the ball first, and that's when we talked about all the rules and stuff. And heck, I felt like at home, everybody at home was learning the rules together with Tony Romo at the time.
I'm a rules guy. Always have been. Do the stats for the high school. I'm always sort of like aware of it. And I had no idea. They were saying, no, I was just like, oh no, it's the regular, just like the other overtimes are. Like, no, they both get the ball no matter what. Which is like, okay, so if we're doing that now, why would we not do that in other games? But I understand they did that. I will tell you that the outcome of the game up to, where I said, where did it get out of control? I think that Kyle Shanahan gets a little bit of a bad rap. He's had some flops, let's just say, in big games. He was the offensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons when they lost and the Patriots made their big comeback, and nobody can understand why he threw the football when he could have run it and they never had enough time to come back. Other little things along those ways.
I thought that my observation was that they were being, even though Brock Purdy played a phenomenal game.
Yeah. He definitely did.
And I give that kid a lot of credit. But I thought they were being a little bit conservative, particularly in the fourth quarter with him. Rightfully so. I mean, he's young in that type of situation, but I think he did very well under pressure, the immense pressure that he was under. But San Francisco, I thought that they kind of stayed maybe a little bit too conservative. Maybe reasons why they, I thought either team could have won the game, but that might have been sort of my observation as far as, they're not too sure that he might throw an interception or whatnot. That's something I kind of picked up on, but I could be wrong.
No, I think you're 100% right.
I just thought everything was turning around after that punt. And the recovery. It was just one of those things where you're just like, oh, here.
Yep.
You're right. It doesn't matter if you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan or you're just a fan of a good football game, but you're sitting there at home going, there it goes, here it comes.
Yep. And so it's being far enough removed from the game now, looking back at it from maybe analytically, you all make good points, but I will say to you that moment of indecisiveness going into overtime, there's something about that seemed like the moment where you saw it all kind of like there was a crumbling sort of feel to it. Like they didn't quite know. And then they said, oh, we did know. We did speak of it. And the players are like, no, we didn't. We don't know. We don't know what it was. And I'm not saying you have to prepare for everything. Who expects it to go to overtime? Maybe nobody. I get that you don't have maybe that one extra thing that you should have talked about. But I think that's the difference between winning a championship and not winning a championship. The New England Patriots, who I couldn't stand for 20 years, they didn't miss a detail. Even when, like the play, one of the most iconic plays in all of Super Bowl, Russell Wilson trying to throw a slant to whoever the receiver was, and our guy Malcolm Butler makes a play, and he says, "We practiced that. We practiced that. We knew that." Going all the way back to when they beat the Rams in the first Super Bowl, and they knew they were going to. Belichick knew that they were going to run a play or they were going to do some shovel pass. We've never seen it before. The formation, that preparation. And I am not trying to pick on Kyle Shanahan, but it seemed like that was like an uh-oh moment. Oh, yeah. And other things maybe in the context of the game, you say that could have been the difference. And you're right. Once they didn't score the touchdown on overtime, it just felt inevitable. Mm-hmm. Here it comes.
Well, again, with the rules, you now just gave Patrick Mahomes four downs. He knows he has 4 downs.
Right.
You don't get Patrick Mahomes 4 downs.
Right.
And the runs were crucial. The design quarterback runs.
Absolutely.
They They whipped it out once in the fourth quarter, and then pretty much he had 2 or 3 big runs there in overtime.
I really think that look at the best. There's a lot of good quarterbacks. Let's just say that, right? But the guys who can freewheel like a Mahomes and still stay within the structure of the offense, he's running, but he's looking. Like, he pump fakes and guys go for it because he will throw it. Yeah. He'll throw it behind his back. He'll throw it this way. He'll throw it with his eyes closed. He'll do whatever it takes, but it's still in the structure of the offense. He knows where the receiver is. He knows where like the play that was during the season when Kelsey threw the lateral back to Tony. That wasn't planned, but he knew, he saw the field. This is the intellect of certain players that understand the game. Yeah. And you're a retired Army. Think about putting the pieces all in place and knowing where they're at, in some ways. It's crucial.
I think I was having a bit of a flashback as they kept on, obviously being that conservative feel the 49ers kind of had in fourth quarter of overtime. It was sort of remind me of, remember, Tebow left, Tebow right?
Yeah.
They knew McCaffrey was going to get the ball.
Right, right.
Granted, phenomenal player.
Right.
But it was sort of predictive as far as, and he just, again, that conservative, you're in a Super Bowl. You got to go for it.
Right.
You got to take, is it going to be an interception? Whatever.
And I'll tell you the truth, based on the fact that Brock Purdy, I think, proved himself to be up to the challenge of that game, the 49ers are going to be good for a long time. Yeah. And I think everybody's better get used to it. This doesn't mean they're going to be in the Super Bowl every year, no. But I think they're going to be a very good team for a long time. And that team might change from being run-based, defensive-based, to let's let Brock Purdy be the guy. Yeah. He could be that guy. You don't know. He seems to have the moxie. I thought a good analysis was how well he throws the ball over the linebacker's head in that second window. That's not an easy throw in the pros. That's not an easy read, and he makes it look pretty easy in some cases. So he's a rising star. Well, real quick, are the Chiefs a dynasty?
Yeah, I think they've got. They're young. In the big scheme of it, I think they'll. Yes, I'm not a Kansas City. Yes, I do believe they are a dynasty.
Dynasty?
Yeah, it's hard not to give it to them, because and here's the thing. I think as long as that core is intact, Andy Reid and Kelsey said he will not play for another coach. So once Andy Reid decides to go, he's gone. But yeah, it's Mahomes hasn't been knocked out of the playoffs before the championship.
He's been to all of them.
He's been to
injury based.
All of his.
Yeah, take one of those pieces out due to injury or something. That could.
And then you're gonna start seeing now. You're gonna see a guy that's gonna be the next receiver, the next Kelsey-ish kind of guy, to go along with Mahomes. I think it was very smart to retool the offensive line this year. I think it meant a lot, even though they looked shaky early in the year. Mm-hmm. And the defense is underrated. In the sense that there were some guys that did not play their secondary went from below average in winning to one of the better secondaries in the NFL this year. And so they definitely did a lot of things that have moved themselves into that dynasty range. I could foresee the Chiefs winning 2 of the next 4 Super Bowls if they put some pieces together and injuries are not don't plague them. And that puts them at 5. Which is a heck of a run early in Mahomes' career, because you figure the way quarterbacks go, and a guy like him, there's going to be a day where his feet are going to be nailed into the pocket. He won't be able to run as much, but his arm talent is ridiculous, and his IQ is off the charts as far as that's concerned. It's
just like Russell Wilson. Once you lose that mobility, Russell Wilson's thing was roll out the pocket, hit somebody deep, block it, and once that went, and I think it's gone. Yeah. And now he's got to develop into a pocket passer.
Right, and he can. He's got the arm strength.
He's got the arm strength.
That was never a problem for him. Yeah.
What did you guys think about the sort of the other parts of the Super Bowl, the halftime and then the commercial stuff?
Yeah. So, like I said, so in some ways, when you watch the game, my opinion is that while I'm a football fanatic, there's so many distractions during the game. You lose track of the game sometimes. The conversation during the game is never about, I shouldn't say never, not a lot about what's going on in the field. It's like, did you see that Doritos commercial? Did you see the one this? Did you see that? It's who's in the stands. It's the halftime show. You spend 30 minutes arguing or talking about whether you like Usher or not. all different styles of music, R&B being, represented in this year, but it's a lot of stuff that goes on around it, even the lead up to the game. It's hard for me to watch hours and hours of pregame. Are you guys at 6:30, whatever it is, in the national? Is that when you start watching, or do you watch leading up to it, Ron? What do you do?
Bits and pieces. I mean, I'll keep flipping. You flip back and forth from back. Whatever something catches my eye, I'll watch, but not continuous. There's no.
Right.
Just it drains you before the game even starts, like you said.
Right. It's too much. Grayson?
No. As soon as the national anthem comes on, that's when we're kicking in. But just like you said, all the stuff, all the fillers, like the whole Radio Row stuff, like the whole week. Like you hear analysts talk. Like by day 2, they don't have anything else to say. How much
more can we say?
Yeah. Right. What else? How can I say that's different than what you heard?
And even then become storylines, like relationships and other things that are sort of.
Yeah. Look. I mean, the big thing was obviously the Taylor Swift effect as well. She's dating Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce being a big personality himself, obviously. His brother being a personality as well. Sort of lent to even hyping it even more. I understand the NFL is going to try to get every person to watch the game. And by the way, it was the most watched Super Bowl in the history of the Super Bowls. And so that's a big deal. And so the NFL finding new ways, I guess you would say, to sort of promote the product. But it's king of sports in our country is the NFL. It's hard to mimic what they do. The game is the game. It means everything. I think they're going to find ways to push it back even further into February over time to get more hype and more time.
And it's a business, so they're going to try to find ways to get more people to watch, to get other age groups and other things to watch. Sort of the outside of the game. We're looking at X's and O's, and they're looking with
NIL, college football in general, what things we're talking about, everything else. Marketing is the major part of all of it. Marketing yourself, marketing the team, marketing the league. All those different things. It's just it's become how do I brand myself to go to the top and rise to the top. And the NFL is firmly taking control of that. That's for sure. They are the ones that are on the very, very top.
Well, I heard David Sampson, who used to run the Marlins. He said that his favorite part of the year was as soon as the Super Bowl ends because, hey, we can focus on baseball now. Yeah. Now we can talk about spring training.
It's almost like you come off of a bender.
Oh, yeah.
You kind of got to shake yourself off. And you're like, okay, the smoke cleared, baseball. There it is.
Spring football is going to be promoted.
Well, they did a smart thing. They combined the leagues, and the Rock's involved, and everybody else is involved. So we'll see that. There was a point in time in the 80s when when the USFL was out there. That product was not only well done. There was top level talent. Obviously, the talent was ridiculous,
and it was affordable. People could take. Remember the Bandits up in Tampa? You take your family up there for for a price of one ticket to watch an NFL game. You can probably take.
Right, and they were seeing some hell good football, really good football. All right. Personal stuff here. Waste Management Open. It's golf, but so I go out there last 8-9 years. I've gone out to Waste Management, Phoenix Open. It is a party. I can describe it to you if you're a Florida Gator or a Georgia Bulldog fan or a college football fan. It's like taking the world's largest outdoor cocktail party, and yes, I said it, and putting it on a golf course. This Saturday, the Saturday of this year's tournament, and this was not from some drunk guy saying, I heard this. This was 4 cops. They said they were pretty much sure there was 375,000 people on the property on Saturday morning, okay, in the morning. And what had happened, I'll give you a quick rundown of that. What happened was, because of the rain pushing some of the stuff back, some of the second round people, because on Friday they come after work, and they run out there at noon, they want to watch the golf, and they didn't get a full day in. So somebody had a great idea to say, hey, you know what? Let's let people in that still have their second round passes or whatever it was. And we'll let them in because they didn't get to see a full day. We'll give them a chance to come in on Saturday. Figuring, hey, we'll get more, sales and concessions or whatever you want to say about that. When it happened, they lost control. And the real thing that happened was the security company that runs the checkpoints walked off the job. They said, we're not doing this. We're not going to be the ones to take the blame for your blundery idea. So they walked off the job, and there was nobody at security. So you got to figure that crowd that coming in on Saturday to run out to number 16, which is the whole, obviously everybody wants to go see, are calling their buddies at ASU and everywhere, or high school people, saying, gates are open. It's free to come in today. And they got inundated. And because the golf course was in very, very muddy conditions, you couldn't walk the hills like you normally would do. They were all trying to walk on the paths. And it just was people. There was one point where nobody was moving. It was that dangerous. So at 11:30 on Saturday, the Scottsdale Police and the fire department took over and shut the gates. Said no more. And they said, and of course now you got people. Now that's too many people to begin with. How do we get them out of here? They closed down the bars. They closed the liquor sales. They closed everything down and said, you want to stay? You can stay, but you're not getting anything else to drink or eat or whatever. And so they had to start a fuss with that. Mind you, it was already way out of control by that point. You guys were talking beforehand. You saw the videos of guys sliding down hills. But there were people sliding down hills who didn't want to slide down hills everywhere. It was crazy. It was mud everywhere. People were, covered in mud. It was like, it looked like Woodstock. It was nuts.
So here's some stats for you, just to put it in perspective. And I can't verify or validate these numbers, but you had approximately, you said 375 one day, about 700,000 people throughout the tournament.
Right.
54 arrests and 211 people that were kicked out. Do the math. That's not that bad.
What's that point? 0.00001?
Yeah, you got 250,000 people in one spot over a 4-day period. Again, I can't validate the statistic or the numbers I'm saying, but 54 arrests, 211 people actually got kicked out.
Right. And you know what? Listen, it's you and I. Some of the things that happen, they're not well mannered, but they know where the ropes are for the most part. Now, did it get to be annoying? Because we saw Billy Horschel get mad. He yelled at a guy because he was talking in one of the guys' backswing. Zach Johnson said he thinks he's done going to the tournament. It was too much. Where the problems for the pros were, yes, there's some rude people. I've never heard anybody yell in anybody's backswing. I've heard him say, that's a crappy shot. What was that? What's going on? Or whatever, or some off-color comment. But they don't usually do the stuff that golfers flinch over. It was getting from from one green to another tee because there's so many people that were clogging things up. They couldn't get through, and it just got to be unruly in certain areas where it was just hard to access things. So that was the problem mostly Saturday. Friday was okay. I didn't see much of a problem Friday, and then Sunday was fantastic, but the Saturday was just ridiculous. So they're going to have to figure out something. I said it's pretty easy. If somebody walks in and they're wearing a mermaid outfit and they're hammered, and you can tell they're hammered, you don't let them in, ticket or not. There should be someone says you can't show up here improperly, intoxicated or whatever it may be. And they got cops there with breathalyzers. They should breathalyze these people coming in. If you pull somebody out of a line, you say, hey, you're not going in, and that's fine. That's the risk you take. They're not tailgating. Or they don't think they are. Maybe they are, but they show up. So they're showing up that way. They bring things in that they shouldn't be allowed to bring in. They're not checking bags. Oh, I got water. I got this. No, it's not. It's other things, that kind of thing. So they can get a rein on it. They'll figure it out. But the thing about it is they're saying, oh, these people are out of control. Well, NBC has Kevin Kisner and Smiley Kaufman throwing footballs on 16, doing all different stuff. They're getting the crowd as fired up as anybody else, and people see that on TV and like, I can't wait to go and do that. And
it is
what happens.
Marketed. It is what it is. That's what the waste management is about. It's a big frat party. We just happen to be watching golf while you're doing it. Now, obviously, there's a safety consideration with all this, but that's how they market it. That's why people go there. They know they can. I'm not saying unruly and get fights and anything like that, but that's what it is. Right. You let the genie out of the bag. It's going to happen. Right. I think that if there's going to be, there'll be changes with, hike the drink prices, double them instead of what you're paying. Right. Breathalyzers and whatnot. But the players themselves will be able to kind of drive sort of they're not going to change some doofus yelling at Jordan Spieth or they're not going to do it. Kick the guy out But you change it too much, you're going to lose the essence of what the waste management is all about.
And so I think another thing too is, like I said, you can do that stuff there, but there's only 18 holes of golf. Okay, if you have a cop on the tee box or a security guy, and a cop maybe on the green or whatever, it's simple. I mean, you don't have to have an army of people or army of people. Just put them strategically where they need to go, and they say, hey, you know what? Hey, call them over there. You don't see, and I think you've noticed when you went there the one year you went there, there's not a large police presence. You don't see, like, after a football game where there's cops with AK-47s or whatever they got, or AR-15s or whatever it is, right? You don't see it. They're around, but they're not. They don't have a large presence. I said this. I said, you know, not that you have to have this level of security, but if you ever saw Tiger Woods play live, it was like Air Force One. He had people on every side of him, security-wise. You don't have to have that, but you can have one or two guys walking with each group, especially on Saturday and Sunday, because you made the cut. So you're down to 70 players or whatever it is. So you're not having the whole field of players. It's not guys going off different sides. It's pretty simple to figure out. It's not like they're going to have to recreate the wheel to do this.
Well, I think sort of the people that go to these things, I mean, there's a side of it. Obviously, there's golf fans and there's other people that know that it's a party, but you're not going to get sort of these, how can I put, hoodlums that are going to be carrying 9mm in their bag and shooting people. It's not that type of, you know, you're going to have maybe a fight or two, you know. The nerd golfer guy's going to get a black eye and he's going to walk away crying, or you're going to say something about the Florida Gators and get
wrong place. Things like that can happen anytime.
You're just not going to get that. No one would. I mean, I'm not trying to defend anything as far as that, you know, bad behavior, but there was, thankfully, no one was killed. I mean,
did somebody fall off the stands?
Somebody jump off the, you know.
Well, somebody did fall. A woman did fall 20 feet.
Yeah.
I don't know how far, if it was a tumble or whatever. So that definitely did happen. And of course, I was concerned, like I said, with the fire department involved. I'm like, what if somebody slides down the hill and breaks their ankle and that kind of thing? And or you know, there's always a situation. Somebody has a cardiac arrest. You never know, because it's strenuous to go out there. You got to go up and down these hills. You walk a lot when you're on a golf tournament. A lot. If you're in it for the day, I mean, you know, a normal walk around a golf course is 5 to 4.5 miles or whatever else it is. You figure you're going up, down, this way, that way, back and forth. It'll get to you after a while. If you're not prepared for that hike, you're not going to make it. You're not going to make it for sure. It is fun. Let's just put it that way. I will say one thing where across the line thing, a story I'll tell you guys, and maybe it's a little disgusting, but it's the truth with how these things go in this place. So after we were in Phoenix, we went up to play golf up in Sedona. And the golf course, there was one of the superintendents of the golf course. She worked the tournament. And I would think that they probably get him to work certain holes and do whatever else it may be. So she's talking to us. We're up there saying, oh, how was your experience? We had a great time. She's like, listen, I love it. She said, I love it. It's fun and everything. She goes, but sometimes I cross lines. He said, I was in charge of the first hole. And after the second round was the third round was over, had to go out at night. But I couldn't change the flag. It was just had to make sure everything was okay because they had to finish the round that wasn't complete yet. So nothing got touched. When she went to go check everything at the first hole, somebody had dookied in the hole.
Of course. Frat boy stuff.
Yeah, frat boy stuff. And it was, and she, I mean, now this is the person that take care of it. She had a great sense of humor about it. And the way she did everything else, she said it was not something I wanted to do. And the thing was, I couldn't change the hole because it had to stay in the same spot. I changed the cup, but I couldn't change the hole, and I couldn't make any change because that's the rules. So those are the kind of things that, while we can laugh a little bit about it, those are the kind of things that that's the line that they dance with this thing. And guys, guy or gal, I'm not going to say blame it on the guys. Whoever did that probably thought it was hysterical. But really, it's a line crosser when you do that kind of stuff, and then it's where you have to watch
I would
things.
argue too. You know, this is a huge money making event for waste management vendors and everybody else, and economically for the community too.
Oh, unbelievable!
Where do you draw the line where you're going to start cutting stuff that's going to take away from the profit margin?
Well,
that's where I'd be interested to go. We're going to cut it down from X amount of people to we're going to cut the size of. You're going to start getting into territory people ain't going to want to touch their money.
Well,
I mean.
I'm going to go ahead and say it. Like, that's a spectacle. It's become a spectacle. The PGA absolutely needs it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's bringing in all those other fans.
It's literally drawing people from out of state, making plans, weekend plans to do that. Like, as exclusive as the Masters is and how many people go to the Masters, this would be up there as the next one that people want to go to.
I will tell you this. I talked to, on Friday, dozens. We had a great spot. We were right in the corner of this little veranda. You could look over a couple of the places. And younger couples and people were coming to, they're like, can we sit here for a while? Were you in your way? No. Every one of them, it was a bucket list trip.
Yep.
I mean, every single person. I sat at 16 one time, met people from Kansas. They were a bachelor party bucket list thing to do. 20 guys. Everybody's there for a bucket list moment. And it's really, and that's what it comes down to. It's a signature tournament.
Within the group we play golf, we start talking about next year now.
Right.
We already start making plans for, start getting numbers and who's going to go. And
it's
like a year.
It's amazing. But I tell you this too. So one thing, first time I've seen in a long time, when I bought tickets this year, Saturday was sold out. So there was a sellout. They had a number of tickets. They had a control already in place. They just got greedy. That's what I think. I think the people said, oh, let's see what we can do, because they'll be leaving soon, and it didn't happen.
Well, I will tell you that people that go there, because I went there one year. You've been every year for the last 5-6 years.
Yeah,
you're spending money.
Yeah,
it wouldn't even matter if they increased the drink prices by doubled them.
Right.
People are it is a money making machine.
Right.
For everybody, the bartender, the waitresses, the security.
Hey,
everybody's making money.
The bartender says they make a couple grand a day.
Yeah.
A day.
That's crazy.
It's nuts.
And, I still don't understand. I'm baffled by the fact that it'd still be open. Ticket sales would still be open on that Saturday.
Yeah.
Well,
again, it was there should have been sold out. There should have been a number that had on the course. They just didn't have it. They just, again, bad decisions. They got to own it. They will. They'll figure it out. They're charitable. They've raised over $190 million in charity money over the years. So they know that there's a lot more good than bad, and they can get it in check. I can promise you that they can get it in check.
And how do you relate what is considered bad? A fat guy rolling down the hill,
or
someone getting shot at the Kansas City Chiefs?
Right. That's what I'm saying. No, you're 100% right. Is it criminal? No. Is it it's obnoxious, and and how much can you handle it? You might lose a few guys that don't want to play the tournament. I get that, but if they make it the one that's got the 20 mil in there, they'll listen to a little more crap than they have to listen to in other places. There's no doubt about that.
Well, you know what they said to Zach Johnson, right? Urban Meyer's a better coach than you are coaching at the Ryder Cup.
Oh, did they really?
So they brought out the sour subject.
Oh, he hit him right where it counts. Yeah, no doubt about that. All right, we'll take our last break of the night and come back here and do our What's Bugging Me segment. I hope you guys are kind of prepared for that. If you are, maybe a prediction or two if you feel like it. We don't want to force you into anything.
Daytona 500.
Well, there's no doubt about it. With that, we'll take a break back here at Douglas Jeep right after this. Here on the 941 Sports Zone, and getting ready now for our Truly Nolan. Thank you, Truly Nolan, and Chris, at the general manager at our Venice location. What's Bugging Me segment. And since you guys are the guests, I'll let Grayson, you're the first way. You can go first. And what's bugging you in the sports world or in general?
What's bugging me is I like UFC. I love watching the fights. I will say what's bugging me is Dana White not taking care of these older fighters, right?
Okay.
Making way for the new generation. What he's doing is he's having them fight these younger guys that I mean, from Russia, from the Middle East and stuff, the ones that are gonna be big names, and he's like throwing these older fighters out to the wolves, essentially, and he's not treating them when they help build the new wave of UFC fans, and it's just not treating them right. Nate Diaz, until they changed his last fight, literally, I think like a day or two before they changed his fight, he was going to get railroaded, like just ran through by one of the Eastern European guys. But I mean, I don't like the way that he's treating some of these fighters with it. So that's really what's bugging me with some of the cards that he's putting together.
Using their name for pay-per-view fodder so they can watch them get their ass kicked.
Well, and giving this young kid or this young fighter a notch in their belt. Hey, I got to win over a previous champion, or not with the context of but this is like one of their 2 last fights on their contract, and they're retired.
Done. Yeah. No, I guess and UFC has reputationally, not always been the most employee friendly.
Nope.
So I mean that's kind of hard, and of course they run the roost, and so he's got a bully pulpit at this point. He can do whatever kind of what he wants, but I do understand that, because that is guys who laid it on the line for you, made you a ton of money, and then you're going to be like, by the way, you're going to be hamburger meat for somebody for the last 2 fights you're in.
It's your favorite fighters too. Like, I mean, my favorite fighters going up, and just seeing them just get treated like that at the end, just it leaves a sour taste in your mouth. And like, do I want to continue, or is this going to keep going? Right. That, and like some of these fighters, just with the way that they talk and present themselves. Sean Strickland, this last one, the last UFC event, not this past weekend, but the one before it, was seeing awful stuff. Right. Just awful stuff. And these fighters, like, there's no reprimand, no remorse for it. They're just letting them speak their mind, which is giving them clicks because you want to see this guy get beat up now. And you're going to get somebody say, "Oh, I want to watch this because this guy's going to be, But it's just wild, some of the stuff that they're allowing to happen right now. Well, we'll see, because Dana White has been the name associated with UFC as far as the guy who kept things in line, and I'm sure he's got some bosses now as well. So maybe he'll get the little reprimand when that comes to that stuff. All right, Ron, what's bugging you?
What's bugging me is that the state of Colorado just released a pack of wolves into the environment, which is going to decimate the elk and deer herd. But anyway, I'm joking. No. But that's part of it. I kind of blew my wad already. Going back to waste management, everybody's sort of complaining about sort of the debauchery and sort of the, all the things, fat guys rolling down hills and stuff. I say get over it. And I kind of go back to my stats. And as you see these news feeds and say, well, the arrests doubled from last year. And again, you get 750,000 people in one spot, which is how many acres? 50 acres or whatever it is. And you have 54 arrests and only 211 people actually got kicked out. Right. Get over it. Yeah. Get over it. Everybody made a ton of money, to include the players. And I'd say if it's that much of a strain on you as a player, don't go back. Right. That's it. It's fine. Go back. There's plenty of other tournaments. And there's plenty of guys who would want to be there just as much as you. And it's funny to talk about one thing I was going to say too. On Saturday, when all this was going down, there was 4 Scottsdale police officers wearing, gear or whatever it was, nothing, riding bikes, and they sat in the same spot for almost an hour and a half and talked to everybody who was there, having just as much fun and laughing and kicking. They were enjoying as all of this craziness is supposed to be going on where it was going on. There was nobody rushing to put handcuffs on guys. They watch your step over there. Don't slip. Hey, help your buddy. He's not going to make it. They knew the situation. I think when they closed the gates, they knew that, hey, this was going to. They put a big wet blanket on it and they took care of it. And I think that's what you're right. So I agree. They'll figure it out. There's too much money to be made. Videos I saw people walking around like the weekend at Bernie's. Just they showed the one picture on the first day. The guy carried another guy over his shoulder, and that was real. That was happening there. So no doubt about it. So for me, it's kind of weird. I'm taking a little turn here. Daytona 500 was yesterday. And so, the Monday start, I get all that stuff. But what's bothered me right now is the last few years. It seems as though the 500, they race 499 miles, and they get in a little fender benders here. They do have some accidents, but it seems like they can't finish the race under green.
You watch it, here they go. You get 2 laps to get there, and somebody wrecks somebody. And look, and they're wrecking the guys. This is not like, hey, it was a mistake. No, if you get a run on somebody, you wreck him, and then you wait for the next chance to go around. You got to figure something out,
So I was watching the race with my wife, and there was 9 laps to go, and I said, "Here it comes." She says, "What do you mean?" I said, "There's going to be a wreck within the next 2 or 3 laps." She says, "What are you talking about?" And kind of going back and forth with her. And actually, I was a little bit ahead in my prediction, but there was 9 laps left. Then you had the big crash, wiped out half the field, and I said, in order the strategy again, my opinion on their strategy is if you're not first or second or 10th and beyond,
right, in
that time frame, you're done.
Right.
The big track, Talladega, Daytona, all this, it happens every single time. And you said they're wrecking each other.
They're wrecking each other, and that's the thing. So and
if that's they're doing it for their teams or whatever they're doing. I mean,
so to win the race, you got to be lucky. Not good.
You got to be 10 or beyond.
You got to be, it's almost to the point where you almost say to yourself, hey, with 20 laps to go, I'm going to move back to 15th.
If you're not first or second.
Because that way, because you know they're going to go 3 wide. You know a guy's going to get squirrely. You know a guy's going to bump a guy and whatever. And then now, look, you see it all the time now in NASCAR. Oh, Billy Bob and Joe just got in a fist fight in the garage again, right? And they're like, well, what did he do? Oh, he wrecked me. He did this, he did that. Well, they're wrecking each other because they're wrecking each other in the biggest race of the year. If you can wreck somebody in that race, you can wreck them at the Doritos 200 and the lower races. It doesn't make a difference, And so you watch the race and you're like, who's going to win? I don't know who's going to win because it's going to be the guy who can clear the wreck. Yep. And then you have the strongest 1-lap run, or when the yellow light goes off because you've done it twice or 3 times and you're in first, you win. It's like they got to figure out a way that, I know everybody waits to watch that kind of stuff, but in the biggest race of the year, I have not seen a race in 5 years, maybe longer. I'm not recalling everything where there wasn't a major wreck taking the best car out of it.
Under white flag.
Yeah, and then the guy who's 6th or 8th or 10th or whatever, and it's just the luck of the draw. There's really, to me, there's a lot of skill to get there, but then it's like, okay, it's like gambling and winning 10 parlays and then saying, okay, I'll put it all down on red.
Well, I was telling my wife, I said, being in 20th place within the last 5 laps is not really a bad thing.
What are you, 3 seconds behind? Yeah.
Well, it's going to be a wreck. It's predicted.
Right. And you can look around and have a spotter say, they're going to be, hey, wreck's coming on the eye, say, so-and-so's getting squirrely, they're talking the whole time, go low or do this or whatever it may be. So yeah, it is tough to watch. Any predictions? You don't have to, but if you have any predictions, anything you want to?
No, I'm right now I'm kind of getting out of the football fog.
The malaise.
Getting into watching a lot of golf. Spring football should be interesting, like you said. No predictions.
I have a prediction. I am predicting somehow Doc Rivers is going to mess up a good thing in Milwaukee, just like he has everywhere else.
It's funny you say that. I don't understand why they made the move. It seems like NBA coaches they get what, 3/4 of a year?
They failed their way up. Like Doc Rivers has failed his way up the ladder.
Right.
He's got 1 championship in Boston with the Big 3.
He's a name.
And then it's just a name. That's all it is.
Yeah, he's a name. That's for sure.
He's blown the most 3-1 leads in NBA playoffs.
Yeah. No.
He has the record.
Look! They went into the Clippers. He was the guy that were going to take the Clippers over the top.
Yeah.
And that never happened.
Nope.
My prediction, based on what we said earlier, just because I think they deserve it. Bulls get in the tournament. USF Bulls get in the tournament and win at least 1 game. And I think they won't be a double-digit seed. I think they'll be a single-digit seed. I don't say it's Sweet 16 for them, but I say at least a first-round win for them as well. They're playing well, confidently, and I think they'll have something to prove. So USF Bulls make it to the tournament. Yeah. All right, guys. You made it through the first time you got here. So appreciate you being here, and we'll have you back again sometime in the near future. So we'll appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
And we appreciate you guys always watching. Thank you for being a very patient fan base because we were out for a few weeks there, but we'll be back on a regular schedule here for the near future. With that, thank you again. We'll see you next time on the 941 SportsZone.